don't know what it is with me in that introduction video, but it just never works properly. It always is a little bit laggy. Anyway, hello everyone. I'm Az. I am joined by a new face on these channels. I'm joined by Mr. Jim Daly, Mr. Jim Daly Comedy. So no pressure, Jim. We expect lots of laughs on this stream. I'm sure you get that a lot as a stand-up comedian.
Yes, very, very much so. Very much. I like the pressure. I'm like a Premier League football manager. I just love the pressure.
Yeah, make us laugh immediately. Everything you say has got to be funny. We're something a bit different this show because I've been obviously doing a lot of videos of loads of stats tables and team reveals and drafts and getting questions about XG and XA and all this kind of stuff. And Jim messaged me and I thought, Jim doesn't want to talk about stats tables. We will just sit here. It's Thursday afternoon. You know, grab a coffee, grab a beer if you're off work, grab a glass of wine, grab whatever you want, and we'll just talk nonsense. Oh, that's a cool mug.
What are you drinking?
I've got 4 drinks next to me.
Okay.
I've got a water.
Mm-hmm.
I've got another water for some reason. I've got a coffee with my FPL legend written on it, which I think is a bit of a stretch, and a blackcurrant.
Okay, well, I don't want to blow the illusion for the viewers too soon, but I can't see what you're holding up, so I was just nodding along, pretending.
Oh, I see. Oh, of course you can't. Yeah, of course you can't.
I was like, that great coffee mug looks great. Water, fantastic.
It was good. It was a good, like, you know, I can see you, and I thought you were seeing what I was seeing. So
I'm now seeing the water. Oh, that's a lovely water bottle. Oh yeah. Oh, sleek black mug. This is. I don't know if you follow. They do bad football drawings, bad cartoon drawings. And they did one for they're called No Score.
The stickers. They do the stickers, don't they? Bad stickers. Yeah.
They've changed their name. I can't remember. They used to be like Bad Panini or something. Anyway, they did an England one. I thought was quite cool. So I've invested in that. And I got a lovely cup of tea, which is essentially what I drink about 400 times a day.
Good.
So yeah, ready to go. Ready to not talk stats.
We're not going to talk stats. I've just done an hour talking stats with Josh on a fan team video that anyone can check out if they're playing fan team. But yeah, we're not going to talk about that. I just thought it's quite a funny thing because I don't know if you know Mark and I do a podcast called FPL Black Box, which is very very stats focused. And one of the things we're doing now is we're doing something called The Apprentice, where we're taking people who've never played fantasy football before and talking to them. So one of them's a big football fan but has never played it, and my apprentice is a girl who's got a husband who's really into football, but she herself doesn't really into it, but she really wants to kind of compete and get into it. And it's quite interesting talking to people who are sort of into football, wanting to get into football and stuff, but don't have the same levels of obsession as like people on Twitter do, and probably a lot of people watching this video do. So I'm keen to know what your level of obsession is with FPL, because you're clearly into it. I mean, we've got Nuclear Atoms in the chat who obviously knows you and says you mention FPL in your stand-up at times. So what level would you put yourself at in terms of obsession with FPL?
Well, firstly, hello to Nuclear Atoms. Thank you very much for... and Ash just said, #CPFC. Your viewers are legends. I mean, Nuclear is right. I do mention FPL in my videos, but it normally tends to be when I'm doing quite well. So over the last
you're one of them.
Yeah, 100%. I think that is FPL, essentially. I think if you're doing well, you're well within your right to do so. And if you're doing badly, just shut up. I think that's totally fine. No, my obsession with FPL, I've been playing it. You've got my history there, actually.
I have.
I was actually very shocked to look at my history. Turns out my first
season
was 2008. No, it's not. It's not great. Thanks, Ad. Straight in there, little bullet to my heart. It's not. I mean, some of those first few season ranks are big numbers. But 2008 is my first season. That's a long time ago.
Yeah, same as me. So that was my first season as well. I mean, so just for anyone listening, maybe on a podcast or something, you redeemed yourself because you had a very very good season last year, 7,691 in the world, which is a hell of an impressive rank. Even more impressive when you consider that you'd had one top 100,000 finish in 10 years of 12 years of playing. I mean, I guess before
I'm essentially, I'm the Blackburn Rovers of FPL. I've come up, I've won the league, and then I've just disappeared again.
So relegated next year then?
Yeah. I'll be over 1 million next year. No, it's basically, I didn't really take it seriously. Yeah, I had quite a good season 2015-16 when Leicester won the league, 71,000. But that basically,
a long time ago, isn't it? Right.
a long time ago.
Yeah.
But every other season apart from that, I've basically given up early. So I had a bad start or a good start and then lost it. And I've not really tried. Whereas last season, I genuinely thought I'm going to try this season. And do you know what, kids? It's disappointing, but trying does work.
It's half the
I
battle.
hate to say that, but it's true. Yeah, it is. And I'm sure we'll go into later on sort of tricks and tips and stuff. But I basically just started following loads of FPL people on Twitter. And then that became a filter process. Some I liked following, some I didn't, and whatever. And probably about 100 people in the end, I reckon, I followed on Twitter. Whittled that down to maybe sort of 50 or something. And then essentially throughout the season, I wasn't someone that was like scouring blogs and stuff. I was just like keeping an eye on Twitter. And if a name came up each week, by the time I got to Thursdays, if I'd seen Tarek Lamptey mentioned 10 times on Twitter, then I think, okay, can I get him into my team, or do I want him? And that was it really. And honestly, I can't believe it worked.
Yeah.
It worked so well. The other thing I did was, when given the option, I did nothing.
Yeah.
And that is also what I do in my sort of professional and personal life as well. It was very easy for me to apply that to fantasy football. But that was huge, because the previous few seasons, there were so many weekends when I would make loads of transfers, take a hit, and my team would have done better without doing the transfers.
Yeah.
I'm sure people listening will relate to that. It's so annoying when that happens. So I thought, right, if I'm like okay with my team, I'm just going to try nothing. In fact, I'm going to set myself a challenge. Can I roll over a transfer every 2 weeks? So I've only got 2 to play with. It made a huge difference.
So you've got because I really struggle to do nothing. I think that's one of probably my biggest challenges I face doing FPL, is that, I was talking to Mark about this the other day. You spend all week doing all this research, reading things, watching pods, listening to streams, all this stuff. You can only really do one thing a week, right? Which is your one transfer, or maybe 2 or whatever. And I find it really hard to get to the end of the week and have done anything, because it feels wrong. If I want to be doing well, I should be active and be doing stuff. But you've got better, have you, at not doing stuff?
Yeah, I have. It's like going to the supermarket and then coming out with nothing. Which feels very weird. Like, I think we are programmed to buy something. And I think with FPL, you're programmed to do something. You've got to make a transfer, got to, take a chip if you can, like whatever. But actually, I think there's such a, I'm getting really deep here. There's a real strength.
Supermarket analogy is always good. I think the supermarket analogy is a good one. Another good supermarket analogy would be, you go into a shop to buy something and you end up leaving with a load of crap that you don't need. That is very much like FPL and what happens.
But that's what they want. That's what they want you to do. Without getting too conspiracy theory there, that's what they want you to do. They want you to buy stuff and they want you to make transfers. But actually, if you don't, you feel like a champion at the end of that week. Honestly, especially if your team then does well, like the guy you're going to take out gets an assist or something, scores a goal, even if it's low level, you feel like such a champion. You feel like you're sort of beating the system, like you've sort of stuck one to the man, and you've just done nothing. It is honestly the power of nothing. That is going to be the name of my new book when it comes out.
What I think I've learned from this, Jim, is that COVID's got to you. Because you've lost your mind, and that has correlated with doing well at FPL. So I think we need to all take a leaf out of. But
COVID did get to me last. It didn't literally get to me. I haven't got COVID yet, and I'm double jabbed now. So get vaccinated, everyone. But FPL again. I'm so sorry to get so deep so early on in this. And
it's great.
But FPL genuinely got me through lockdown.
Yeah.
Because it was something like, the world was weird, wasn't it? It's like the world was mad, and it was all stuff we couldn't control. We weren't in charge of this virus. Obviously Bill Gates was in charge of the virus. That's a joke. Get vaccinated. But we couldn't do anything. You couldn't leave your house. You couldn't do anything. It was all out of your hands. You're waiting to find out when you can go and see friends and stuff. FPL was like the one thing I could do each week that was me. I was in control of. And yes, it did mean that I was thinking about FPL 24 hours a day. And it pretty much took over my life. And I had multiple, not just one, multiple spreadsheets on my Google Docs.
Well, you really went for it, yeah.
But it was really nice to have something to concentrate on. Also, for anyone not listening, I'm a freelance comedian and performer, so my professional life is also very much out of my hands. So I live a very sort of transient lifestyle. So to be able to have this one thing each week that I'm in control of, Yes, there's an element of slight not control because Wilfried Zaha isn't going out there and doing exactly what I want him to this week. But it was really nice, actually. It was a really good, nice thing to concentrate on during lockdown.
Yeah, and I've got quite a few friends who play FPL every year, but no offense, probably have season history similar to yours, and probably do similar to you in terms of they play it quite seriously for a few weeks, start having a few bad weeks, maybe forget a deadline or something like that, and then by Christmas they're not playing anymore. And it's really interesting seeing how a lot of them really did try and really did carry it on. And I ended up coming mid-table in a league. I mean, I finished about 100,000 in the world, which isn't too bad, but normally that would be enough to beat all 10 of them comfortably. But I think 3 of them beat me in the league this year, and that's just not happened before. And when I've spoken to them about it, a lot of them said exactly the same as you. They lent on it more. Yeah. They enjoyed that kind of immersion into it and spending more time on it because they could actually control it.
I do think that is another FPL secret. Don't give up. Even if you're having if you have a great August or whatever, and then you have an awful September, bad October, don't give up because half the people in the game do. So just the fact that you keep going towards the end of the season means you'll probably end up at least midway somewhere in the overall rank because people give up. People in the mini league are going to give up. So just keep going. You might then have an amazing January and February, and that can change everything. So I think, every time I gave up, every season I gave up, which was normally around Christmas, I then get to March and think, I really wish I hadn't. Because in my head, like someone I thought was going to do well, Lallana suddenly scores a goal or something, or my team actually does well. Don't give up, essentially, is my other advice.
Jim, I've got tears in my eyes. You're so inspirational. Keep trying. Like trying will win. Patience is a virtue. Don't ever give up. What incredible advice.
It's what I do in life. I like to lift people up. I'm lifting you up right now. I'm lifting our commenters here up. This is what I do, and this is also what I do in my stand-up. And if you want to come and see me do this, I'm performing in London next Thursday at 9 p.m.
Oh, here we go. Here we go.
Smashed it. Smashed it.
12 minutes in, and he's mentioning his show. Bloody typical.
Tickets have sold terribly. So
please come and see me.
It's been like pulling teeth. Oh my word. I do think there's a serious point in there. I do think it is nice to lift each other up and be positive because there are corners, I think, of the FPL community sometimes that are a bit down on each other, I think, or that thrive on negativity. I think it's important that we all do be positive, and it's a bit of fun. It's a bit of fun as well, so enjoy it.
I was going to ask, how involved with you are you in kind of the FPL community? You mentioned you follow sort of about 50 people. Do you interact much with all the crazy people out there, or are you kind of a bit more a lurker rather than a...
I'm 100% a lurker.
100% a lurker.
Okay. I'm the only people I've ever tweeted, I think, are Big Man Bakar, who followed me back on Twitter. That was a big moment for me. That, I think, was my favourite moment of last season.
You're such a groupie, Jim.
I'm a Big Man Bakar groupie, massively. I think he's incredible because he does obviously do all the stats and stuff and the form and all that, but he presents it in such a just lovely way, accessible way. So, and he seems like a nice guy as well. So when he followed me back on Twitter, honestly, I think that was one of the greatest days of my life. And I'm followed, more name dropping. You ready for some name drops?
Oh, so ready. Yeah.
By Ian Wright.
Wow.
And Susanna Reid.
Whoa.
And Big Man Bakar. I mean, that is the 3 that you all want, isn't it?
Is that like your dream dinner party?
That is my dream dinner party. That would be an incredible dinner party.
It would, wouldn't it? Quite a blend of people there.
Well, Susanna would obviously be fielding it, very good at fielding questions and hosting, keeping it going. Righty's anecdotes would be unbelievable. Obviously, being a Palace fan as well, I mean, that would be great. And then you just have Big Man Bakar chucking in stats now and then.
Yeah.
And it's, what more do you want?
The XG of this roast dinner is 16.
The form Jim has shown with the entree of the starter has not been very good, to be honest. But I believe in him. I believe he can pick it up with the main course.
I would watch that, and it's narrated by the Come Down With Me guy.
Oh, yes, Dave Lamb. Dave Lamb.
Dave
How do I
Lamb.
know his name? That's a big Brighton fan, unfortunately. But,
good man. Yeah, well, we're gonna talk about that in a bit because obviously we're here.
Brighton?
Well, we're here having a nice time, we're having a joke and a laugh and stuff. And then as someone rightly points out in the chat, you're a Palace fan.
I am. Yeah. Who said that? Wow, the chat's really going off. Fantastic. Who said I'm a Palace fan?
Someone was
Ash.
Ash. Yeah.
Oh, I think Ash is a follower of my Palace podcast, FYP, Jim Turn in the Corner, which is an incredibly niche reference that no one else in this chat that isn't an FYP listener will get. But Ash, You're a legend. Can I say as well? I do have a mascot. Would you like to see my mascot?
I'd love to see your mascot. Well,
It's
unless it's a euphemism.
No. Unless that makes money. Hey, if that's going to make
Got to pay the bills, Jim. Got to pay the bills.
Exactly. This is a bit like Cat Stars Countdown, isn't it? A little bit. I've got my mascot. I'm unfortunately going to eat my mascot, so I apologise. But it is a gingerbread man from my local bakery.
Oh, that's lovely.
That's not bad, is it? As gingerbread men go.
It's absolutely no relation to what we were talking about, but
Isn't that nice to have a little mascot? You know.
Did you basically just mid-sentence decide you wanted to eat a bit of your gingerbread man, so got him out?
I brought it in earlier to eat beforehand, and I didn't have time because I was too late.
I see.
So that is from my local bakery in Chesham. So Darvel's brilliant bakery.
Are they sponsoring this video as well?
They're not, but randomly they're an old school, they've been there a long time in Chesham, and one of the guys that plays my Vets team called Sam Darvel is from the family. That's when you know you're living in like a proper sort of proper local area. So yeah, it doesn't unfortunately bring us gingerbread men for team talks, but
that's a shame.
Good footballer though.
That feels like a bit of a waste opportunity.
It feels like a cop out, doesn't it?
It does. Yeah. It does.
Yeah.
Well, you've tried to divert the subject, but we're going to come back to Crystal Palace because obviously I'm a Brighton fan. You're a Palace fan. I like talking.
Somehow this works.
Yeah, I know. Sometimes it's going quite well until now, until this moment. I'm always interested to talk to Palace fans because, to me, the rivalry is so ingrained. My dad is a huge Brighton fan, and he absolutely hates Crystal Palace. He hates them, and he doesn't really know why. He does. He doesn't really remember the kind of... I know what happened from researching it. He kind of loosely remembers it, but not the whole story. What are your thoughts on the rivalry? Do you care about Brighton at all?
Firstly, can I say to your dad that as a Crystal Palace fan, I also hate Crystal Palace, so I 100% know where it's coming from at times. At the moment, actually, we're going through quite an exciting transition.
You are, actually. I'm following it with interest. It's looking quite good, actually.
Yeah, I might mention some of those players potentially as FPL assets. I don't know. I'm not sure, actually. Maybe hold off for a bit. But anyway, the rivalry, my first game at Palace was in 1991, so by then the rivalry was in full swing, and it was 76 it started. It was like 18 years before. That's terrible maths. It's probably wrong. I
just agree. It's fine.
Yeah. Countdown. This is not, is it? No, but you, as a young Palace fan and as a young Brighton fan, you are brought up to hate Palace and Brighton. It is just one of those things that you're.
So it was ingrained in you as well, even
100%.
Really,
100%. Yeah, not really through my dad. My dad is a very, very mild-mannered Palace fan. I don't think he hates anyone or anything. I don't think he's ever told me that in his entire life. He's now 73. But having said that, my dad's first Palace game was 1964, I think. So I think if you probably supported Palace or Brighton before that, maybe you didn't buy into it. I don't know. Maybe it was a posting. But as a young fan on the terraces, I was the chance for all anti-Brighton, even if you're not playing Brighton, which you still are. Interesting. You were just told to do that. But as you know, I told you before, I've got to know a lot of Brighton fans, yourself included, but a lot through the Robert Eaton Memorial Fund, Matt, through the years. And I'm devastated to say they are all really, really nice guys. And I just can't...
Soundbite that.
I just can't do it. Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's me cancelled as a Palace fan. So thanks very much.
And we can stop the stream now. I've got what I wanted. See you later.
Jim Daly never worked in content ever again.
Don't you do stand up at the Brighton pub, the pub,
Brett's
right?
Pub. Yeah, Brett's Pub in Brighton, the Caxton Arms. So I did 2 shows there at the end of June as part of Brighton Fringe. Booked in my gig there without realising that it was Brett's Pub. Brett Mendoza, a big Brighton fan, and that he is a big, massive Brighton pub. There's a huge mural of Bruno upstairs, which is like bigger than me. But fantastic pub. Like, everyone that works there are really nice. And they just made, as a performer, they made me really welcome. And most of my audience were Palace fans, had quite a few Brighton. Half the show that I'm doing is about how ridiculous Palace are as a club. So it went down well with the Brighton fans.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
Which I'm actually adding to. In fact, there's something literally that's happened this week that I'm going to add into it, which is that Palace have really, I don't know if you've seen this, right? But Palace have claimed that they are the oldest professional football club in the world, right? So older than Notts County. I think Notts County currently were. Sheffield FC, older, but not professional, because they found a link to a team that played in 1861. And this has been disputed But anyway, Palace have gone with it anyway. And this kit third kit they've released this season is a Blackburn Rovers style, half white, half light blue kit. It's gorgeous. I've actually bought it. It is amazing. But they've got on the back 1861 to really drill in that we are the oldest club. What they've forgotten to do is update the badge, because on the front it says Crystal Palace FC 1905.
Oh, it's amazing.
I mean, classic Palace. There's literally one job.
That's amazing.
They couldn't even do that.
I mean, I guess it's one thing to release like a kind of a new kit and celebrate, but you've got to change all of the badges, and you've got to change. It kind of changes your identity a little bit, doesn't it? If you're having to go back and do that, that's brilliant.
You know what? As well, it's not the first time. You'll love this. It's not the first time Palace have actually made an error on their badge, because in 2004 we had Diodora as our kit makers, and we had not the main badge, but like, you know, you get the little badges down the bottom, says like official apparel. They'd spelt it Crystal Palace with an H for literally no reason. I mean, where has that come from? It's got nothing to do with anything, but we literally spelled our own badge wrong on our.
It reminds me of when I was at uni. One of my friends was in charge of the tennis club, and he ordered like hundreds of hoodies and T-shirts and everything for anyone that wanted them. Spelled tennis wrong, TENIS.
I mean, that's the one word that you have to.
I know, of all the words to misspell, like it's the worst one. Yeah, so he got quite a bit of stick for that.
Quite rightly.
Yeah. So you obviously you know the history of Brighton and Palace. Then I just love the idea that, you know, Brighton are voting for their mascot and their badge and stuff, and just because of this match that happened, they all vote for the Seagulls because they want to rival Palace's eagle.
Well, you would, because before that it was the Dolphins.
Yeah, I think they were going to go with shrimp, like, you know, a bit like Southend, you know, for the beach, and then they vetoed it and went with the bird.
Can I just say, I think Dolphins is actually a really cool nickname. I actually think that would have been, because that's really unique. I think Dolphins are cool as well. So should have stuck with Dolphins.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting to be debating the merits of Dolphins with you on this stream. Yeah, I mean, Dolphins are pretty cool.
We're not debating the merits of Dolphins. Dolphins are cool, and that is fact.
They also have absolutely no relation to Brighton, though.
No. I've been to Brighton Beach quite a few times. I've never seen a dolphin just jumping up and, you know.
Then again, do you see many eagles in London? Like,
that is a fair point, actually.
Yeah, I guess they're all.
We do release one. Not release. We don't release one. We fly one over the pitch before games.
You do. Yeah.
Imagine if we released an eagle every game. I mean, that'd be horrendous.
Didn't someone punch it and get banned for life?
Someone did try and punch it.
Yeah.
I don't think they did, but it once attacked Nathaniel Klein before a game about 10 years ago, during the warm-up as well.
Probably gave him another injury.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But hey, nice to have jeopardy. We all need a bit of jeopardy pre-game.
Yeah. Oh, okay, cool. Oh, Dolphins and Eagles. Oh, to be fair, I was definitely expecting to be debating Eagles with you, just not Dolphins. So, like, before we move on to, because we've got a draft of your first team, and I've got to say it's quite boring. Actually, I was expecting a little bit more from you, but you know, it's fine. We'll talk about it in a sec.
It is boring. Well, yeah, but this is the thing. Previous seasons, I probably would have done a sexier team, but actually, if you want to do well in FPL, you like having the template actually does kind of work. Like, yes, the odd differential here and there, but kind of is the way
last season, and I've thought about this and talked about this a fair bit. Last season was a little bit of an anomaly because I can never remember a season where the template has so consistently performed for like an entire season, and any attempts to deviate from it just got you burnt over and over again. I tried to do it with Mahrez over De Bruyne, for example.
Yeah, me too.
Ignoring Cade, ignoring Son, thinking that Spurs weren't that good, and all that kind of stuff. Just
I can still physically feel the feeling I felt when Son scored 4 at Southampton, because everyone else in my mini league had both players and I had neither, and I think a little bit of me died inside that day.
Yeah.
I don't think it's come back. So yeah, I feel the same. But weirdly, it was a cheap template. Because Gundogan was doing so well and De Bruyne was injured for a bit, suddenly you could afford everyone.
Yeah.
Like no one was off limits. It was a really, really weird season. And it won't be like that again. I mean, some of them are so expensive.
That's almost when it gets quite dangerous, because you end up, you know, it's never nice to see 4 million in the bank, 5 million in the bank, something like that. You know, you always want to try and, you know, if I've got 2 players and one of them's like all my money, like, you know, 0.0 in the bank, I think the temptation is to be like, oh, it's a sign. I've got just enough money in the bank to get this player in. He's obviously the player that I could get.
Is that how you play FPL then, on signs? Are you looking out for signs and symbols?
Well, I try not to, but I do remember captaining Daniel Agger about 10 years ago, because I had a dream that he scored a brace, and he got He got subbed at 26 minutes.
Could have been worse. He could have been one of the few people that captained Bednarak for those 2 weeks this season when he got sent off the score. So that's a bit like Neil Warnock, because Neil Warnock, when he was Palace manager, was constantly doing that. And he had a dream, I think it is right. He had a dream that his right back was going to score a goal one week. Came into training, was like, right, lads, Danny Butterfield's playing up front. And everyone was like, what? Danny Butterfield has never played up front. He's a right back. What are you talking about? He's like, no, I had a dream. Or his wife Sharon had a dream. Sharon sort of...
It's even...
Seems to feature in a lot of his anecdotes for some reason. Anyway, and everyone was like, well, all the players were like, you're mad. What are you talking about? And that was the week we played Wolves in the Cup. And Danny Butterfield scored a 7-minute hat-trick.
Oh, my God.
I mean, what are the odds for that? Perfect hat-trick, by the way. Right foot, left foot header. Quickest hat-trick in Palace history.
I mean... That makes me think maybe I should start listening to my dreams a little bit more.
I think you should do, because I thought you were going to say, and that was the week that Agger scored twice against Arsenal.
No, he did not. No. They lost, I think it was against Spurs, they lost 5-1 or something, and he got subbed after 26 minutes. Yeah. Actually, he got more points having got subbed off at 26 minutes than he would have done if he'd stayed on the pitch, because he scored so many goals.
So in many ways, you made the right choice.
Yeah, in many ways, I'm a genius. So, yeah.
I can't say, do you know what? I can't say I've ever had a dream about FPL, I don't think, which is weird because I've been thinking about it so much for the last 18 months, but I don't think I have. But I would definitely follow my dream.
Yeah,
100%.
I think you know you kind of have to. I mean, you mentioned Son. I remember it's not dream related, but I was on a stream a few days before with Mark. I think it must have been our third or fourth ever Black Box that we were recording, and I vividly remember saying, if I had Son, I'd sell him for Rashford. So anyone with Son, my big advice that week was sell him for Rashford. I'm probably convinced at least one person to sell Son for Rashford. And Rashford got 2 points. Son gets 4 goals.
Oh, Rashford! I absolutely love Marcus Rashford as a human. I think he is one of the greatest people in this country. But as an FPL asset, he never does it for me. And I'm going to say hate him because that'd be unfair. But I always avoid Rashford. And there are some weeks you think, oh, he's going to do it this week. And he doesn't. And you think, oh, he'll do it next week, and he doesn't.
Yeah.
I just can't. The Rashford for me is, yeah, I just can't. I have to. There are some players, and he's one of them that I just have to avoid at all costs. Martial's another one. I know in a bad season, but like he was sort of one that would be awful and then get a brace. And people in my mini league would always have him, and I wouldn't. And then I think, oh, I get on the Martial train, and it'd be like 10 games and do nothing. So I have to really stop myself.
Yeah, these kind of like streaky players are often quite hard to get right. And it's someone like I've got Sterling on my wall, and he's someone who, you know, football is. I think the opinion of him is quite divided. FPL, it definitely is, because he's had a couple of not so great seasons now, but I always seem to time him right for some reason, which is why he's up there. And a couple of years ago, I was doing terribly. Got him in. He completely turned my season around. He'd had a terrible first half of the season where everyone had backed him. So he had this really bad reputation of everyone hating him. And then for me, he was a hero. Yeah. For others, he was a complete, you know, shambles. So
I can't say he's done much for me. To be honest, if I have to choose a City midfielder, well, is he a forward or striker this year? I don't know. But it's always De Bruyne for me. You just can't be without him. He's just so reliable. And he has won me in the past so many points. But again, I love Sterling. I think Sterling's a fantastic individual. This is a slight problem. I think, attach emotion to these players sometimes.
I can tell.
Yeah. And I do think that clouds my judgment sometimes. But I think, Sterling's a good one. If you time him right, like you said, so many people will have got off the Sterling train that actually you can really make leaps. But this is why, again, I'll go back to what I said at the start. Just enjoy FPL, because a lot of it is complete luck. So just enjoy it. Don't get too stressed if you do get Sterling that week. He does nothing, because you're not a puppeteer and he's not on your strings. He's just a footballer and a human, and just
very easy to say, Jim. Try going on a podcast, being 1 million plus in the world, and trying to give advice to people. Advice such as, I think we should sell Son for Rashford, and see how that goes down.
I'd imagine you probably got quite a lot of really nice comments of that.
Yeah, everyone was really supportive. Oh, don't worry, Az. You know,
it happens.
They're not. They're not puppets on a string. You can't control them. Yeah. They were lovely. They were absolutely lovely. Yeah, I wish. How did you get into FPL? You've always watched football then, I'm guessing, and you obviously started playing FPL kind of quite early on. Was that like a mini league at work, or did you just discover it some other way?
I can't actually remember how I discovered it, but I do have vivid memories of being in my mate Dave's bedroom, different Dave from when I used to live in my hometown of Edenbridge in Kent. Shout out to Eden Bronx. And I was the only person who called it that. And we used to watch, we'd play for the same Sunday team, and we'd go back to his, and his mum would make us lunch. Jan, legend. And then we'd watch the afternoon games because I didn't have Sky, but he did. He had a massive TV in his room and his living room. But we would always talk about FPL. So we must have been, this would have been about 2008, and we must have been doing FPL at the time. So I was probably in a mini league with him and the other guys in my Sunday team. But I couldn't tell you the moment I actually started it. But the moment I actually started to take it seriously, got into it, was probably around 2014, 15, because I got a job at the Daily Mirror on the sports desk. And the lads on that desk are absolute legends. They've all left now, unfortunately. But I stayed in contact, and they are legends, and they were all massively into FPL. So I suddenly had to up my game quite quickly. So that's when I took it seriously. But I think before that, it's just been, I don't know, it's just something you do, isn't it, with your mates, I think. For me, FPL is definitely mate related. Like, it's something I do.
Yeah, I mean, I got into it because my dad is massively into football. I was never really hugely into it as a kid or a teenager. The game that got me into it was the AC Milan Liverpool match, because I watched that with my dad. Istanbul, yeah. And it was only really then where I really understood why he cared so much, just because of everything that happened in that match. And so when I was going off to university, I thought, okay, I would quite like to get into football a bit more. So FPL was like my kind of gateway into it. So I was like, I'm going to start playing FPL. I'm going to learn all the plays. I need that competitive element. Played it with a few friends from home. I didn't expect to be sat here sort of 13 years later, talking to you on a podcast and doing my own one and stuff. But it's funny how these things develop.
FPL actually is a really good way. If you're not into football and you want to, like, say during the Euros, you've been watching games, you know nothing about football, and you want to get into football and know more things and facts and stuff, FPL is a really good way of doing that, because you'll suddenly get those names in your head, and formations and positions and form and stuff, and you can do that really quickly. So you can definitely fake being a football fan, I think, if you get into FPL.
Yep. And another good bit of advice is try and get your partners involved, because if you're sat, 11 o'clock on your phone and they're looking at you like you're an idiot, then
how do you know what my home life is like?
Because I experienced it myself. But you get the partners involved. You add that competitive element to the relationship, and suddenly a lot of the time they're on it more than you, looking up stuff and taking it more seriously than you are. So
I won't say that's happened to me. My wife, I think, dislikes football probably more than anybody in the world. She has absolutely. She watched the final with me, and that's it. This summer, didn't watch any of her games. I've taken her to one Crystal Palace game, which is around the corner from us at Watford. We live in Buckinghamshire. So it's at Vicarage Road. Sam Allardyce, his first game back in 2015. Johan Cabaye scores after 10 minutes. She's the only person in the away that didn't stand up. Didn't realise that's what you got to do when the goal goes in. Absolutely zero interest in football whatsoever, and finds the fact that I'm into fantasy football completely bizarre.
Yeah.
So not going to happen, unfortunately.
It is always funny trying to explain fantasy football to someone who doesn't even like football. Because, trying to explain football to someone is like, oh, you're watching some players run around and kick a ball.
Exactly.
Blah, blah, blah.
22 men in shorts. Yeah, actually, it's great.
And then you try and explain fantasy football to people. And I'm having to do that more because now I work for Scout and it's kind of like my career. So I often meet people and they're like, oh, what do you do for a living? And it was really easy before because I worked in market research, but like, I work in market research. And they'd be like, oh, is that interesting? I'd be like, no.
No, no follow-up questions.
Yeah, and they'd be like, okay, that's fine. And now it's like, what would you do? And I'm like, well, what's the easiest way that I can explain this to you that you'll understand? I was like, do you watch football? No, not really. Okay.
What do you say? Do you give up then, or do you try and explain it?
I try and explain it, and it's not gone well. At any point, you either lose their interest very quickly, or they don't think it's a real job, or they.
Okay, so what you got to do here? What you got to do here is you have so much scope to make up what you do. You could. You have gone to 11 there way too quickly. I was thinking you could say I'm a stats analyst for Brighton.
Yeah.
Something. Or I am the reserve goalkeeper for Brighton. No one's going to check that.
No. No. Yeah. I mean, I think the solution to quite a lot of questions like this is to lie. I'm not necessarily saying that's the best idea, but in this case, it could well be. It'd be a lot easier to say I was Brighton's backup goalkeeper than saying that I do some podcasts.
I actually think you'd have fewer follow-up questions. Actually. Yeah. Are you? Okay, cool. Great.
Good.
Do you play much? No.
Not really. Sit on the bench. Quite depressing. Oh.
Yeah.
Moving on.
To be honest, I'm the same, because when people ask me what I do, I'm always like, well, are you comedian, podcaster, content guy, presenter, what was it? And I can see people getting bored as I'm going through like the various things I do. So quite often we're liars as well. People are like, are you a good comedian? I'm like, yes, I am. Lie. So yeah, just similar thing.
Ash in the chat says, try explaining Champman FPL. Are you familiar with Champman FPL?
Do you know, it pops up into my feed now and then. I'm familiar with Champman. I played so much Champman during the day. But no, the crossover. Do you know what? Normal FPL takes up enough of my brain space. I don't think I have the energy to try it. Yeah, I sort of get it. Yeah,
I indulged this year, and it was glorious. It was glorious. It's very exciting when, you know, being able to play, because it was a 2002-2003 version. So it was Thierry Henry, you know, Viduka was there, you know, all these names. So being able to pick those, and you know, there was like live streams of the matches with people commentating on it, and there was it wasn't just like spreadsheets, it was like a full-on FPL type site with player prices and everything. It was incredibly well done. But yeah, Ash is right. Trying to explain that.
It to me. I'm starting to actually think I might try it. No, Jim, come on.
Well, they're unsure if they're going to bring it back for another season, because they've done 2, and obviously with lockdown ending, it's quite a lot of work as well and things. But I really hope they do, because honestly, I absolutely loved it. And this year, this is going to be my next question to you. What other games do you play? Because I'm playing Elite Serien, which is the Norwegian fantasy football game. I'm playing Gaffer, which is the championship. I'm playing Bundesliga. I'm doing two Fantrax draft leagues. Champman, if it starts up again. FPL draft. So that's 7.
So, are you okay?
I do wonder.
I'm starting to get a real picture of the sort of person you are.
Yeah, I do wonder.
Talk about something, or
I think Elite Serien is the one that makes me question whether I've lost my mind. Yeah,
I think if you had dropped one, that might be the one.
I kind of weirdly really like it. Because I don't know any of the players. Right. And it's funny because you've got a team, you've kind of picked players that you think are like half decent, and then if they start doing half decently in the league, they just get sold like straight away. So all the best players are just like are gone now. So you've got to learn about new players and stuff. And I don't know, there's something quite funny about picking a team. And I've actually started a Football Manager season with a Norwegian team this year.
Nice.
So I'm learning about. So add that to the list of addiction as well.
I used to do that. I still buy Football Manager every year, and I think I play it collectively for about half an hour a year. I have a young child, and I just don't have time to do anything, let alone sort of my own,
because that's life consuming
works. It turns out they do need quite a lot of attention.
Who knew?
Yeah, who knew? But yeah, back in the day, I loved Champman and FM. Whenever it became FM, I can't remember when I was, about 2007 or something, 2006. Yeah, I really do miss it. I miss like long. My best ever achievement, I want to hear yours in a minute as well. My best ever was taking Margate. This was 0102, I think, because I think I had Tonton Zola Makuku, and I think he only featured in 0102. I took Margate from the conference to the Champions League. Very nice. I had Rivaldo at one point. It felt like a real moment for the people of Margate. Don't think he'd have moved to Margate. Probably lived in London. Imagine what he'd have thought of Margate.
Not quite as glamorous,
Rio.
is it?
Yeah. But yeah, that was. What was your best achievement?
Similar. I took Chelmsford to the. I never won the Champions League. I got to the final. I've got actually. I'll tell you my story. I won the Premier League with Chelmsford. Basically, was my achievement. I also took them to the Champions League final and lost to Bayern Munich in the 120th minute of extra time. And the player who scored was the left back that I'd sold to them at the start of the season. How's that for a story?
No, yeah, that's heartbreaking.
And I live streamed it.
Oh dear, heartbreaking 4K.
Honestly, just the absolute worst. Oh dear, quite a few people are saying that I need to get a life. Yeah, I think that's probably quite accurate, to be honest.
Oh, bless them. They're good people. They're good people.
They are. I'm sure a lot of them. I mean, a lot of them are watching this at 2:00 on a Thursday, don't have lives, don't pretend like.
Yeah, you guys got jobs. What have you been doing? All right, or probably working from home now. That's too fair. Working
Yeah,
from
that's
home,
true.
so easy to have this on the side.
Yeah, a bit of background noise. That's what we like to be in the
Background
gym.
noise. Yeah, there's
Yeah.
a lot nice. There's some good comments in there, isn't there? Lots of people sort of chatting away. It's lovely.
Yeah,
Good.
that's what I kind of wanted. Nice little coffee
Yeah.
type session. Let's have a look at your team. Let's have a look at your team then for your kind of first draft. I'm sure it's going to change.
Oh, God. Okay.
Before, I mean,
Well, I've already got an injured player. That's impressive, isn't it?
that is impressive. I was gonna remark on that. I mean, the only interesting player that you've got in this team, aside from Lamptey, is Ings.
Yes, he'll be gone. He'll be gone pretty soon. My theory behind him was I thought he might end up signing for a bigger team, but I'm not sure he's going to now.
So your one interesting player isn't going to be in your team when the season starts.
And I'm going to replace him with the very templatey Dominic Calvert-Lewin.
Oh my God. Okay, so let's just go for your team for anyone listening on the podcast. So it's Sanchez and Foster in goal. It's White, Lamptey. Sorry, I'm just falling asleep a little bit here.
Well, White is. Hang on. Why has he not got an Arsenal shirt on?
He hasn't officially signed yet. He's just had his.
Right,
He's having his medical. He's just had his medical. It's all but done.
It's happening, isn't it?
Yeah. Eiling, Trent, Smith Rowe, Buendia, Rafinha, Salah, Fernandez, Watkins, Tony, and then Ings, who's going to be Calvert-Lewin. I mean, talk about you following people on Twitter. This is the Twitter template.
Yeah.
To the
is this
letter.
the most boring team that anyone's ever put together?
This is the most boring team I've ever seen on Twitter. And I was expecting, stand-up comedian comes on to scout. I thought you could have a few banter pics in there that we could laugh about.
It's very much like when you meet a comedian, you think they're going to be really funny off stage, and they're actually incredibly dull. This is exactly what.
This is your personality in a nutshell on a team.
Yeah. The problem is last season was so templatey. I'm going to start like this anyway. It'll probably change, come first few weeks of the season. But I don't know. I just feel like I don't want to lose ground too much.
So have you deliberately set this up to be quite template, or have you just picked these players because you think they're going to do well and it just happens to be?
No, it's pretty much based off people I've seen on Twitter and
At least
stuff.
you're honest
I can't lie because it worked for me last season. I mean, I definitely Smith Rowe is a bit of a differential for me, and he was influenced by my personal trainer Sam, who I had this morning. And I saw this again. This is how I do my picks. I saw that he got the number 10 shirt for Arsenal.
Yep.
Which made me think, well, he's definitely going to play, and he's number 10, so he must be good. But obviously, that means nothing. Absolutely nothing. So I don't know. Buendia I've picked because he's apparently been doing quite well in pre-season and setting up Watkins for goals.
Yep.
So I've got him
Good
as well.
fixtures as well.
Good fixtures. Rafinha, that is cheap.
Yep.
Considering how good he was last season. I mean, that is dirt cheap. So. And then Salah and Fernandez, I mean, I know they're massive points, but you can't really. Again, they've both got fairly good fixtures, haven't they? I think early.
Not tempted by, because quite a few people are switching from Fernandez to Sancho with his new signing. Not tempted by that?
No, I think Sancho is a fantastic player, but I'm going to wait.
Yeah.
I'm going to wait and see, because I think that could be one where he maybe doesn't actually start for a bit, or gets game minutes here and there, or actually takes a while to settle. Could be amazing. Probably get a hat trick in his first game. Now I've said that. But
it's a lot easier to go from Fernandez to Sancho if they're matching each other than it is to go up from Sancho to Fernandez. That's the kind of the logic that I'm.
Sancho's what, 9 million or something?
9.5. Yeah.
But Fernandez is such a flat track bully, but I don't care. I just don't care. Like he obviously scores mostly pens, gets bonus. There was one game last season he came on at half time, got 1 assist, he got 3 bonus points.
In that match he broke the chances created stat. He created the most chances of any player in Premier League history in 45 minutes.
There you go. Okay.
There you go. We said we weren't going to talk about stats, but there's a.
That's a one stat.
That's one of the one stats that I remember, because I remember him coming on and getting an assist and getting those bonus and thinking there's no way he could have earned that. And then I looked at the stats. I was like, how the hell did he? Because West Ham were good as well at the time.
Was it West Ham? Was it? Yeah. West Ham had a great season. Actually, there's no West Ham players in there. That's interesting.
No West Ham players there.
No
Man City.
No Man
City. Yeah.
Yeah, no Man City. Well, I did have Grealish. Grealish was in there. I told you off there when we first met. I wanted Grealish because he might go to Man City and then his price would go up, and you were like, "That's literally not how FPL works."
Yeah, just 11 years of playing for you not to know that.
I don't know why I thought in my head that might happen. Hey, it might. You never know. It might. They are sneaky sometimes. Those FPL boys. I certainly are with the price rises. You notice that? I only noticed last season because again, it's the first time I've really sort of been paying attention. But for the first 4 months of the season, the price rises are minimal. And then when it gets to April and it's like and they suddenly start going
Well,
up.
what they did last year, which I don't think I think they have done it before, but not to the same level, was they definitely locked prices and didn't let players go up as much.
Right.
And normally you see that when players are injured or coming back from injury, sometimes they'll, because otherwise they might just be massively over or under inflated on the price. If everyone sells Son, he's got an injury and he goes down $1 million, it doesn't really make much sense. So they lock them. But they were definitely doing it with players who weren't that, and I think that adds a little bit of. I think it takes away a little bit of the credibility of the price rise. It's quite interesting with Fanteam. So I'm doing some videos with Josh on Fanteam, which is another game. I don't know if you've seen it. It's similar to FPL, but you pay £20 to have a team, essentially. And then there's a lot more. The rewards are a lot bigger. There's a £1 million prize pool, 200 grand for the winner, all that kind of stuff. But they're quite clever with how they do some of this stuff. So the price rises are done on performances rather than ownership. Right. So if a player's doing well, their price goes up. Yeah. If they're doing poorly. So I think Trent started last year at like 7, ended up going down to about 5.7, 5.8 because he was doing so badly. So then you could pick him up really cheap. Whereas on FPL, his price only went down to about 7.3 or something, or 7.2.
That is a much better way of doing it.
And I think because you can't argue with it, right? Ownership and players selling and buying. You've got the net. You could do it. There's so many different ways you could do it. Whereas I think the algorithm they've got with the performances. I don't really know which is better, but it's definitely an interesting way of switching it up a bit.
I'm happy to say the other way is better. Team value is another one, isn't it? Because people are very serious about team value, but I think last season it kind of went out the window. And actually, it's another thing I try not to pay too much attention to.
So are you always wait to the end of the week? Do your transfers on a Saturday morning?
Saturday morning or Friday night, because I like to wait for the press conferences just in case there's a sneaky injury or something like that. But
so your hashtag points, not pounds.
Is that what it is?
That was a trending hashtag last season. I'm very much the opposite. Well, right. I'm not very much the opposite, but I do think there is quite a lot of value in going early sometimes.
Right, so you do them early to keep the value, but
not always.
I've been burned so many times at doing a transfer early doors, and then a player gets injured in training or whatever, or midweek game or something, and I'd get more annoyed if I did a transfer on a Monday or Tuesday to save a million 0.1, and they didn't play, rather than got them on a Friday and had to pay 0.2 more or whatever, and then they played.
It's a part of the game that I quite like, because balancing the kind of risk and reward element of something is a strategy, right? There's you can have strategies around hits and formations and this kind of stuff, and the prices to me are another factor in that. So I'm not saying always go early and always go late, but I think sometimes if you've got a player who maybe doesn't have a match in the week, has just scored a hat-trick, going early and getting in and saving that 0.2, sometimes even 0.3, that can really kind of add up over the season. But a lot of people are very much always wait till the end. And
I tend to, normally, because I like to make Friday normally, or Saturday morning. When you got a little kid, Saturday morning, actually, you'll be really careful because suddenly that midday game is upon you.
Yeah.
But Friday, I like to make my FPL day. That is so sad, isn't it? But I like to sit down, right, it's Friday, got my spreadsheet. I've been looking at the press conferences and stuff, and then really make my decision. Although then there's a Friday evening game, you've got to be really, really careful you don't get caught out by that. But yeah, Friday is kind of my FPL day. I'm really reading a lot about myself today, aren't I?
Do you still get caught out by? Because you mentioned that you sometimes miss deadlines and stuff.
Not last season, no. And I'm in a mini league with some guys. The biggest buy, which I won last year, which is great. But there's one guy in there who always forgets Friday deadlines, so that's just fantastic. So if there's a Friday night game, you're going to get more points than him because he always forgets. So that's fantastic. But no, I've been more on it. But you are, like, if you're having a good season, you are just a bit more on it. Like, you just pay more attention. I think that's just the way it goes. So I've definitely been a bit more, cautious about that kind of stuff.
You got that kind of sadistic moment when you look at someone's team and you see some red flags, or you see they haven't changed their captain and they're playing like Man City away. You just think, you haven't looked at this, have you?
Or the worst thing is when someone does that and then there's a freak result, like they left, when Leeds won at City and Dallas got 2. Yeah. Everyone had him on their bench. I had him third on my bench. I think everyone did. And then there was one guy, I don't think it was my league, or a different mini league, who'd forgotten to switch him from captain from the previous week.
Because they had a really easy game before.
Yeah.
So he was actually captain quite highly. So there was quite a few people like that. It was
nightmare.
Yeah, stuff like that is nuclear.
It's unacceptable.
Nuclear says Jim's team isn't comedic at all.
Oh, how dare you? I completely agree. I did see someone else earlier on. It might have been the same guy saying something about that I've got triple Brighton in my team, which I absolutely sort of do. I guess White is going to become Arsenal, but I do. That's mad. And then no Palace
And no
players.
Palace. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think we're in a transition at the moment. So I think
What do you reckon about Palace this season then? Because I saw the players you'd released and thought, no chance. And then you got Vieira, and I thought, that seems like a managerial change kind of waiting to happen straight away.
Yeah.
The two centre-backs you've signed look really, really good signings.
Yeah.
What do you reckon? Do you reckon he's going to be able to steady the ship? Hell of a project.
Our first 6 fixtures are all incredibly difficult.
They really are.
So we've got again. That's why I wouldn't recommend getting any Palace players in.
You've got that Brentford game in game week 2 is massive.
I'm actually worried about Brentford. I think they will be a surprise this season. So I think that could be. Reminds me when we got Frank de Boer, we played Huddersfield at home first game.
Yeah.
Newly promoted, and everyone was like, it's going to be great. And we lost 3-0, and it was just. I don't think we'll lose to Brentford, but I think it'll be tight.
If you lose to Brentford, you could well be 6 games in without a point.
Yeah, we could be. But I think he'll get more time than Frank de Boer did. I think Palace
can't get any less time than Frank de Boer.
Literally 88 days. He'll get 89 days, and they'll sack him on the 89th day. No, I think Palace are really building a project. As you can see from these players, Anderson, Fulham's best player last season, Gahey, Swansea's best player last season, Elise, Reading's best player last season. They're all young guys. Like apparently we're getting Conor Gallagher as well from Chelsea on loan. So we're really going for it. So I would say revisit Palace in September, October, and there could actually genuinely be some really good differentials there. But I would ignore us for the first 6
because I think Vieira to me looks like the kind of manager who needs time because he's from what I'm reading about him, from what I know about him, he's a man manager, right? He's going to take these kids under his wing. He's going to teach them. He's going to develop them. He doesn't strike me as a really, really great tactician who's going to be able to mastermind Palace to, very tactical wins. I think it's going to be done out of, kind of just enthusiasm and
I think that stuff might come. I think
it might come.
He's still learning. And
I'm talking initially in the kind of early stages. So I don't. I hope they give him time, even if things get off to a.
I think they will.
Start.
From what I've heard, I really think they will. But we could probably bottom after 5 weeks. But then when Frank came in and then Roy came in, we were bottom after 7 games with no goals, and we still stayed up. So
every year I predict Palace to go down.
Of course you do.
Every year.
Of course you do. And I don't do that for Brighton because I am the bigger man. So that's just.
You definitely are.
I've just seen the time. I have to go in a minute.
I think
this has flown by.
I know. I think we said we'd do half an hour. We've done 52 minutes.
Easy.
I know.
Easy.
I think we're pretty much there. Just my final question to you is, I'd say, have you got any advice for people? Because obviously you had a good season last year. I guess it's be patient and try hard. They were your words of wisdom, right?
Yeah, they're very contradictory. Do nothing and try hard.
Yeah.
So if you can somehow make that work, then and just enjoy it. Just enjoy it. That would genuinely be my main advice.
Yeah. Jim, awesome. I'd love to do another one of these with you at some point.
Let's do it. People seem to have enjoyed it from the comments, don't they? So I'll be well up for another one. That was that was a load of fun. That was wicked, and we'll see how badly my team does at the start.
Yeah, can't wait. I mean, the trouble is, it's not going to do that badly, but I'll respect you, Les. If you go this year.
Good. That's what I was aiming for. So that's ideal.
Cool. Nice one, Jim. And thanks everyone for watching, and we will see you soon.